At this year's Ohio State Fair, we catch up with NASA. Representing NASA as a community and media relations representative is Ihor Kiryk out of Cleveland, Ohio, and we'll get back to that in just a minute. Ihor, thanks for joining us and talking about the NASA display. First of all, where all kind of locations does this display go?
We're responsible for taking this display in a 6-state region. We take it to a lot of community events. Organizations request the trailer and NASA presence, and we try to accommodate as much as possible. The 6-state region we have is Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Wisconsin, Michigan.
But basically you can check and find out more on the locations.
We do have a website that does talk about NASA and the areas that each of the centers are responsible for.
Now, some might say, why the emphasis on NASA coming out to events and showing off what they're doing and what they've done?
One of the important things I think people need to be aware of, and one way to look at it, we have a website at NASA, look at spin-offs. A lot of the technology that NASA produces spawns other technology and useful products for people. That's a good site to look at to see some of the things that NASA's created and produced for space research that has benefited people on Earth.
So if we Google NASA spin-offs, it'll get us there?
Right, spin-offs.
As we look at other things, take us through the trailer. What are some of the hands-on things that I noticed? The kids seemed a lot more quick to try the hands-on. The adults maybe sometimes a little leery of, I'm not sof what I'm going to get into here.
We have a few exhibits or activities that talk about gravitational effects, the different gravities you would experience on different planets. One of them is a scale that you can stand on. It would tell you what you would weigh on Jupiter or Mars or on the Moon. Another display which you tried was a can. What a can would weigh on Earth, but it would also weigh if you lifted it on Jupiter or on Mars or on the Moon. We have exhibits in there that talk about NASA facts. We have an exhibit that has an actual piece of the moon rock, lunar.
And the kids really liked that when we found out it was a real piece of the real moon you see at night.
Right. That's a popular exhibit. We have glove box activities that kids can assemble Legos through gloves, which is typically the way astronauts work in space right now on Space Station, doing some of the research in the boxes, the environments that they work in.
The lunar landing looked like a nice little video hands-on experiment.
It's a toy, a game. You try and land a lunar orbiter, a lunar lander, before it runs out of fuel. So you have to, using a joystick, do a careful descent, straight descent, and try and get it to land before it runs out of fuel and crashes.
And some get it down, and some hit a little harder than they like. Tell us about also, we see some of the new models, Ares 1 and Ares 5 rockets, and how those tie to Ohio.
We have 3 models on the exhibit. One of the shuttle. We have an Ares 1 and an Ares 5. The space shuttle is scheduled for retirement next year. The 2 new vehicles, Ares 1 is going to be the crew vehicle, which will take us back to space. Ares 5 is a cargo vehicle that will be built that will eventually launch the lunar lander. One of the significance of the exhibit here, the upper stage of the Ares 1 consists of 10 ring segments. Those, when assembled, comprise the upper stage of the Ares 1. Those were built, manufactured, and created here in Cleveland at the Glenn Research Center.
Yeah, a lot of people probably never, and I was one of them, didn't make the connection that NASA has ties to Ohio.
NASA has a lot of ties to Ohio. It's one of the only NASA center north of the Mason-Dixon line, but there are 9 other centers. Ohio has produced more astronauts than any other state in the Union. There's quite a list of astronauts produced by Ohio.
Now, that's not just because people like me and others had their picture taken and put into an astronaut suit. These are the real ones.
It's the real astronauts, yeah. It's interesting fact the way it's turned out, but we produce more astronauts than anybody else.
If somebody would like to or has an event coming up and want to see if the trailer is available in the area, how can they find out?
They can go to the NASA website, look up Glenn Research Center, and there's a web page there that talks about traveling exhibits and who to contact to come to your event.
Is it nasa.gov?
nasa.gov. And once you're there, look up NASA Glenn Research Center. It'll list the NASA centers. You come to Glenn Research Center, and on that site you'll see some references to traveling exhibits.
Great opportunity to have NASA, in this case, come to you. I'm Dale Minyo visiting with Ihor Kiryk from NASA. He's a community and media specialist. Until next time, I'm Dale Minyo, and I'll see you down the road. Down the Road is brought to you in part by Prince Agra, makers of Omnigen AF, advancing animal nutrition for healthy animals, and Woodruff Enterprise of Springfield, Ohio.